Welcome to NTD Evening News. Our top story tonight, tragedy has struck Texas. At least 79 people are dead from flash flooding in the state, and the death toll is still rising. Victims include both adults and at least 21 children attending a girls' summer camp. More on what President Trump said about the situation just moments ago as the search for survivors continues. Elon Musk has officially filed the America Party with the Federal Election Commission. Details on his strategy for next year's midterm elections. Two Middle East affairs analysts break down what we can expect from the Trump-Netanyahu White House meeting on Monday. What's the best way to keep our minds in tip-top shape as well as our bodies? A top brain surgeon shares his take in a preview of vital signs with Brendon Fallon. And as Jurassic World Rebirth dominates the global box office, new dinosaur species have been discovered in Mongolia and Utah. What these finds tell us about the age when dinosaurs roamed the earth.
This is NTD Evening News, live from our global headquarters in New York City.
Good evening, and thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Tiffany Meyer. A tragedy is playing out in central Texas. At least 79 people are dead after a flash flood struck the area, including 28 people from a girls' summer camp. The search for survivors continues. This comes as new evacuation orders are issued for the area due to concerns of a wall of water moving down the Guadalupe River in Texas. President Trump just spoke about the disaster moments ago. He called the situation a 100-year catastrophe and plans to visit Texas on Friday. He declared the flood a major disaster earlier today and authorized federal relief and recovery assistance for the affected area. FEMA and the Coast Guard are also helping local officials. Texas Governor Greg Abbott signed an expanded disaster declaration for multiple counties. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem said a flood watch was first issued by the National Weather Service on Thursday. Warnings continue to heighten, and on Friday, the service sent out evacuation notices. Texas Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick said there was no rain until the massive downpour started on Friday, and the Guadalupe River rose about 26 feet in just 45 minutes. The Texas Division of Emergency Management held multiple meetings ahead of time, but was still not expecting the amount of rain that fell. From the signing of a historic budget bill to a major trade deal and a stronger than expected jobs report, the Trump administration rolled full steam ahead this week. NTD's Daniel Monahan has your week in review.
The One Big Beautiful Bill passed Congress this week, a sweeping tax and spending package pushed through after President Trump personally lobbied lawmakers day and night to enforce party unity.
The yeas are 218, the nays are 214. The motion is adopted.
House Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries broke the record for the longest House floor speech, delivering hours of criticism.
Press on for the poor. Yes. Press on for the sick. Yes. Press on for the afflicted. Press on for the least. Press on for the lost.
The White House said the bill delivers tax cuts, energy dominance, school choice, and border security. Jeffries warned it would unleash a deportation machine on steroids. President Trump welcomed to the White House Idan Alexander, an Israeli-American citizen held hostage by the Hamas terror group for 584 days. Alexander's release involved intensive talks between the Trump administration and Hamas, which bypassed Israel. President Trump also welcomed the Boston Red Sox to the Oval Office.
The June jobs report beat expectations with 147,000 jobs added.
First Lady Melania Trump delivered gifts to kids at Children's National Hospital.
Look, we have surprises for you. Oh, some gifts for everybody.
The First Lady also set up 4th of July decorations with the kids. President Trump went to a newly opening detention facility in Florida to house illegal immigrants. He was greeted by Governor Ron DeSantis.
It's known as Alligator Alcatraz, which is very appropriate because I looked outside and that's not a place I want to go hiking anytime soon.
Paramount has agreed to pay $16 million to settle a lawsuit from Trump over the editing of a 60 Minutes interview with then-candidate Kamala Harris. The settlement included no admission of wrongdoing by Paramount. And in Iowa, President Trump officially launched America 250, a year-long celebration of America's heritage.
2 years ago, I came to Iowa and promised that the festivities would begin right here at the Iowa State Fairgrounds. And tonight, here I am. Okay? Promises count. It's an honor because you've been with me from the beginning.
Trump also announced the Patriot Games, a nationally televised high school sports event.
It will be led by our great Secretary of Health and Human Services, Robert F. Kennedy, Jr.
On trade, Trump struck a new deal with Vietnam. The Asian nation agreed to pay a 20% tariff on goods sent into the U.S. and open their markets to U.S. goods with no tariff. The deal also includes a 40% tariff on any transshipping aimed at products largely made in China but then labeled as made in Vietnam. The University of Pennsylvania also agreed to strip transgender swimmer Leah Thomas of titles and records after negotiations with the Department of Education and agreed to apologize to female competitors.
We're fighting for the next generation, young girls like my daughter. So just very, very grateful and excited for what this means.
And finally, the EPA placed 140 employees on leave as it investigates a public letter they signed criticizing the administration's climate and public health policies. Daniel Monahan, NTD News.
Elon Musk is moving ahead with forming the America Party. Today, he filed a formal statement of organization with the Federal Election Commission. Musk says the party will appeal to voters in the middle. He first floated the idea alongside his pushback against President Trump's big, beautiful bill. He criticized the bill for what he called wasteful spending and adding to the federal deficit. Now that the bill has been signed into law, Musk is moving forward with forming the America Party. Unlike some other systems of government, experts say third-party candidates in the U.S. rarely get elected, and there are many financial and legal hurdles. Experts say the most they can do is act as a spoiler by taking voters away from major party candidates. Musk says he will begin by working on candidates for the next midterm elections. Musk was President Trump's largest campaign donor in the past election and was a trusted advisor until their highly public falling out. Just moments ago, Trump spoke outside Air Force One, calling the decision to launch a new party ridiculous and saying it would add to the confusion. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu departed for the United States today to meet with President Trump. The two are expected to talk about a possible ceasefire deal in the Gaza Strip to release more hostages. NTD's Jason Perry has the update.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu spoke with reporters before his much-anticipated trip to the United States. Netanyahu is expected to meet with President Trump on Monday about a possible ceasefire in the Gaza Strip.
There are 20 hostages that are alive, 30 dead. I am determined, we are determined, to return them all. And we will also be determined to ensure that Gaza will no longer pose a threat to Israel.
Also on Sunday, Israel said that the Hamas terrorist group made changes to the proposed ceasefire and that those changes were unacceptable. And Israel said they were sending a negotiating team to Qatar on Sunday for further talks. Meanwhile, protesters in Israel have been calling for the release of all remaining hostages and not just a partial deal.
We are afraid, but we understand that if this is what we have and this is how we can save lives, so we will embrace it.
We say start with this deal and don't stop till you get all of them home.
In the meantime, Israeli forces say they now have operational control of about 65% of the Gaza Strip. And in another development, 2 Americans were injured in the Gaza Strip when a terrorist threw a grenade into one of the aid distribution centers. Israeli troops said they evacuated the injured for further treatment. The United Nations has voiced its opposition to the new aid distribution centers, saying they are, quote, inherently unsafe. And the United Nations Relief and Works Agency, or UNRWA, accused Israel of making false claims against it that was hurting the agency's reputation, possibly alluding to its alleged ties with Hamas. In response, the Deputy Director General for the UN and International Organizations Division, Ambassador Amir Weisbrod, posted this on X, which shows an UNRWA school principal that was also a member of the chemical unit in Hamas's military wing. And Weisbrod said that individual is still an employee of the United Nations Relief and Works Agency. Jason Perry, NTD News.
And we have some breaking news. Israeli forces reported striking multiple targets in Yemen belonging to the Iran-backed Houthi terrorist group. Israel said those strikes were carried out in response to repeated attacks from the Houthis, including launching missiles at Israel. Prior to the strikes in Yemen, Israel said they issued evacuation orders to residents. President Trump speaking with the leaders of both Russia and Ukraine this week. Trump suggests he's no longer sure if the U.S. will bring an end to the fighting in Ukraine. That says Russia appears to be dragging out the conflict. NTD's international correspondent Arian Pazdar has more on this week's developments.
I'm very disappointed with the conversation I had today with President Putin because I don't think he's there.
President Trump this week voicing frustration after a phone call with Russian President Vladimir Putin. The two spoke on the phone for 2 hours on Thursday. Putin reportedly told Trump that Russia doesn't plan to stop the war in Ukraine.
Russia will seek to reach the goals it has set, the elimination of the well-known root causes that led to the current state of affairs, and Russia will not back down from these goals.
While aboard Air Force One on Friday, Trump was asked if the fighting in Ukraine will stop. The president reportedly responded, quote, "I don't know. I can't tell you whether or not that's going to happen." Also on Friday, Trump spoke with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. Zelensky praised the phone call with Trump.
It was probably the best conversation we've had during this whole time, the most productive. We discussed air defense issues, and I'm grateful for the willingness to help.
Meanwhile, on the battlefield, eyewitness video showed the moment a Russian drone exploded in a Kiev residential area on Friday. Ukrainian officials described it as the largest drone attack of the war, with over 530 drones and 11 missiles. At least 23 people were reported injured. Then on Saturday, Ukraine reportedly launched drones towards Moscow. The Guardian reports that Moscow had to close airports as 4 Ukrainian drones headed towards Russia's capital city. In total, almost 50 Ukrainian drones were reportedly flying towards Russia. At least 2 people have been reported injured. Arian Pazdar, NTD News.
New details are coming out about China's stance on the Ukraine war, according to a CNN report Friday. The report cites an official briefed on a private meeting. In that meeting, Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi told his European Union counterpart that China can't accept Russia defeated by Ukraine. That's because it would allow the U.S. to turn its full attention to China. NTD can't independently verify the details in the conversation. According to the report, Wang's remarks came from a meeting with EU Foreign Affairs Chief Kaja Kallas on Wednesday in Brussels. The official said Wang's remarks disclose what Beijing might really want, a prolonged war. That's in contrast to the neutral stance Beijing has touted in public. The report notes that China has been deeply invested in Russia's war machine, economically and strategically. Ukrainian President Zelensky in April accused China of supplying Russia with artillery and gunpowder. Back to the U.S., Pentagon Chief Pete Hegseth has said the top priority for U.S. forces is to counter threats posed by communist China. The BRICS summit is kicking off in Brazil, and according to an official document obtained by AFP, member nations are planning on raising, quote, serious concerns over U.S. tariffs. That said, leaders from the organization's top countries will be absent: Russia's Putin and China's Xi Jinping. The Kremlin says Putin is skipping the event due to an outstanding arrest warrant from the International Criminal Court and choosing to attend virtually instead. Meanwhile, Xi's absence is his first since taking power. The summit brings together 11 nations, including Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, and accounts for about 40% of global GDP. Let's dive in. On Wednesday, Beijing said Premier Li Qiang will attend the BRICS summit on behalf of Xi. No explanation was given for Xi Jinping's absence. A former Chinese official told NTD that Xi sees the BRICS summit as a key diplomatic stage and has never missed the meeting since 2013. He linked Xi's absence to possible health issues. But others see things differently. Retired General Mike Flynn recently posted on X calling on the Trump administration to watch for a clear power shift inside the Chinese regime. Flynn served as National Security Advisor during President Trump's first term. Zooming out, the public has noticed signs of Xi's power waning since last year, when his loyalists in top military positions were purged or disappeared from public view. About a month ago, Xi disappeared from the public eye for 2 weeks with no explanation, a rarity during his rule. On Monday, the Chinese Communist Party's top leadership, the Politburo, announced a new group to oversee all major state affairs, a move seen as a challenge to Xi's power base. More subtle signs followed. On Thursday, Beijing's mouthpiece, The People's Daily, published a lengthy tribute to former Premier Li Keqiang. Li was widely seen as a political opponent of Xi. 2 years ago, Li died suddenly in Shanghai, sparking rumors about the regime's internal struggles, comments that were largely censored in China. Now, 2 years later, Beijing's open praise of Li has fueled fresh speculation about Xi's waning power. The BRICS Forum is seen as a China-led economic forum to counter Western power. Coming up, Iran's nuclear program, a ceasefire between Israel and Hamas, and an expansion of the Abraham Accords. Two Middle East affairs analysts break down what we can expect from the Trump-Netanyahu White House meeting on Monday. And the human brain, what can we do to keep it in tip-top shape? A top brain surgeon shares his take in our preview of Vital Signs with Brendon Fallon. More when we return on NTD.
Hi, I'm Ty Pennington, here for Choice Home Warranty. They protect my home from expensive repairs, and they can do the same for you. For a low monthly fee, you get their nationwide network of trusted local technicians with plans that cover repairs and replacements done quickly and the right way. Call Choice Home Warranty now and save big with their special offer of your first month free and free limited roof coverage. Call now.
Call now to lock in your rate and save big. Call 800-360-7824.
I was a young dad of 3 amazing kids. I was finally following my dreams. Just when you feel like life is starting to come together, you get kind of hit in the face. I was born with a congenital heart defect and had open heart surgery as a kid. I was supposed to go to the heart doctor once a year, and I finally went. He listened to my heart, and I'll never forget, he sat back and he said, "Yeah, it's time for open heart surgery, or you risk your aorta rupturing, and that's it." I was scared out of my mind. The night before my open heart surgery, I made a goodbye video for my kids. Be strong. Take care of your mom. I love you guys.
Seeing, all the kids hug him goodbye and hoping that they were going to be able to hug him again.
I love you. But I did make it, thanks to the work of the American Heart Association. So that's why I'm asking you to join me. Please call now or go to helpheart.org. For only $19 a month, just 63 cents a day, you can help get the next person trained in CPR, get the next hospital certified in high-quality cardiovascular care, as well as fund the next medical breakthrough like these heart valves that helped save my life. When you give $19 a month with your credit card, we'll send you this special t-shirt to show you're a part of our community of monthly donors.
I'm most grateful that I get to have a husband that I get to grow old with, and a husband that gets to be there for his children.
I believe without the American Heart Association, I would not be here today. If this can happen to me, it can happen to you, it can happen to anybody. Your donation can literally help save a life. Please call the number on your screen or go to helpheart.org now to become a monthly donor.
When I never graduated from high school, I realized I wanted to go back to school because I didn't want to work these back-breaking jobs the rest of my life. With the help of my father and having my son, that was all the motivation that I needed to come back to school. I felt accomplished, made me feel that I could take on whatever challenges life throws at you.
Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org.
Welcome back. I'm Tiffany Meyer. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is set to meet with President Trump at the White House on Monday. At stake, Iran's nuclear program, a possible ceasefire and hostage deal in the Gaza Strip, and an expansion to the Abraham Accords. Joining us now to discuss our two guests, Gerard Fillety, Middle East Affairs Analyst and attorney specializing in national security law and policy, and David Wormser, Middle East Affairs Analyst at the Center for Security Policy. Thank you both so much for joining us. Good to see you both. Now, Gerard, this will be the Prime Minister's third meeting at the White House under Trump 2.0. What are your main expectations for this meeting?
It may be the third meeting, but I think much of the agenda will be the same. It will be discussing what post-war Gaza will look like. It will discuss the potential for a ceasefire and a lasting peace in the region, including a withdrawal of Israeli soldiers potentially from Gaza. And it will also discuss continuing collaboration on Iran. As we have seen, the Israel-United States partnership was very effective in dealing a blow to Iran's nuclear weapons development. However, that's not something that's ended. Iran has expressed interest to continue that program, and it is likely doing so at full steam. So Israel and the United States will need to remain very much in lockstep on what actions need to be taken next.
And David, what are you watching for in this meeting?
Well, I'm watching for how the United States and Israel reconcile. I mean, there's a great deal of common interests, largely because there are common enemies to both the United States and Israel, and there's also a great deal of importance attached to having a strong ally in the region to help us carry the water. But what I'm looking for is how the different interests are reconciled. And specifically, the White House, I believe, is quite eager for an end to the Gaza war, even at the expense, perhaps, of some long-term issues, and as well believes that the Syria issue is ripe for some sort of a reconciliation between Israel and Syria. Whereas the Israelis are looking at the long term, and they're not sure that Gaza is yet finished, and they're not trusting of the Syrian regime either. So they're a little worried about making short-term ceasefires or rickety peace treaties that can cost them strategically in the long run. That's what ultimately led to October 7th, was a false peace process. So I'm looking to see how they reconcile those differences.
And on that note, Gerard, in terms of a possible ceasefire, Trump has been pushing for a 60-day ceasefire, including the release of 10 live and 18 deceased hostages. How likely are we to see that announced during the White House visit tomorrow?
Well, I think we've seen enough ceasefires to know that even if one is announced, it's not likely to hold if the past is any guide, and that even if this ceasefire goes forward, unless it leads to a lasting end of hostilities, there would still be at least 10 hostages that are alive and being held in Gaza, as well as other deceased hostages. So I don't know that we will see an announcement of a ceasefire. Certainly, it is something that President Trump is pushing for. We have seen Special Envoy Witkoff pushing for it as well. Doha and Qatar, there has been a lot of room in negotiations with Israel sitting at the table and looking like there might be some concessions on the table. However, we have to remember past history that these ceasefires don't last long, and even if some hostages are returned, unless there's a quick and full end to these hostilities, we're likely to resume seeing more action in Gaza.
And David, so far there's no reference to how many Palestinian prisoners would be released. Could that be a sticking point for Hamas? And in terms of Israel, how would they ensure that, Hamas doesn't rearm itself for another October 7th?
Yeah, the sticking points there. You're right. The prisoner issue of the Hamas prisoners, the Palestinian prisoners. I don't think the Israelis are going to hold up a deal because of the number of prisoners they have to release. There may be a few prisoners they will refuse to release by who they are. For example, Barghouti will not be released, and that would be a deal breaker. But the numbers I think Israel is willing to accept. The larger question is also the geographic. What will Israel be required to surrender? And they don't want to give up, again, the south of Gaza, because that's what separates Gaza from Egypt and keeps Hamas isolated from the world for resupply and rebuilding. So those are two sticking points. But I think the real big sticking point still will be Israel cannot agree to a permanent ceasefire until all the hostages are out. And then they still have the goal of destroying Hamas. Hamas will not agree to a permanent ceasefire, will not agree to release all the hostages until they get a secure guarantee of a permanent ceasefire. So I still think the gap is there. There may be the interim one for 2 months, but I don't see this as the end of war.
And Gerard, there's also reports that the Abraham Accords could be expanded. First, talk to us about why those accords are so significant and which countries might sign on.
Well, those, of course, have been significant in getting Israel to the table in the Middle East, where it has more alliances building with Arab countries, which in turn put more pressure on Hamas than the Palestinian Authority and more pressure on Iran to cease hostilities towards Israel. If anything, these trade deals, these normalization relationships show a warming, an opening of a normalization of relationships with Israel, which are very beneficial not just to Israel, but to those Arab countries. The issue, though, is I think it is a little premature to talk about the expansion of the Abraham Accords. I think that the attacks on Iran put that on pause. I think that a lot of Arab countries are starting to reconsider the speed with which they had been moving towards normalizing relationships with Israel, even though that may well be on the agenda again. Ultimately, all we've seen from the Middle East lately is that Iran has not been a fully resolved issue. And because of that, because there was no definitive resolution to that war, only a cessation of hostilities, I think the Abraham Accords are on hold until we see more progress made with resolving the Iran issue.
And David, your thoughts on if we could see the Abraham Accords expanded and how the Iran nuclear program fits into all of this?
There's two countries that one talks about usually with that. One is Syria and one is Saudi Arabia. The Syrian part, I think that there's still a road ahead before there's any agreement between the two, and it's really not clear whether the Syrian government is a government, first of all, and second of all, that it will ever agree to peace under certain circumstances. So I think that's still in the future. The Saudis are the more interesting one because at the end of the day, it's precisely because it was moving toward peace with Saudi Arabia that the Iranians encouraged and launched the October 7th attacks that led to this whole thing. I think the Saudis were deeply encouraged, actually, by Israel's strikes on Iran. Israel really is proving itself to be the strong horse and a powerful regional country that Saudi Arabia can count on, being there and attacking the same enemies that Saudi Arabia has. But at the same time, they're not sure yet this is resolved. Exactly like Gerard said, it's not quite resolved. The United States is still talking about deals with Iran rather than bringing Iran to a fundamentally different future with a different regime and so forth. That the Iranian people would have to be launching sort of a coup against their own government. The Saudis see too much of a mess still to throw in the towel completely. They may agree. They're very upset at Qatar, and therefore you see them laying the Palestinian issue aside, which was a big sticking issue. So obviously a big sticking issue is removed. But I think the Saudis are still not fully there yet, having confidence that the region is stabilized enough for them to leap.
And Gerard, looking ahead a bit here, what would be the geopolitical impacts of an expanded Abraham Accords and or also that ceasefire in terms of the Israel-Hamas war?
Well, if you're seeing the Abraham Accords expand, you're seeing a diminution of the bargaining chips that the Palestinians have. You're seeing Hamas being more and more isolated, as well as Hezbollah and other Iranian proxies. Basically, these have been bargaining chips within these other Middle Eastern countries to put pressure on Israel. And if you normalize relationships with Israel, then you are accepting a status quo. You're accepting that the Palestinian issue is not going to be the chief determinator of the relationship between these countries and Israel. And what that means is prosperity, that means peace, that means normalized relations, that means that there will be less of an impact by radical groups within these countries pushing for foreign policy addresses towards Israel and even towards the United States. So what you will see is more of an alignment towards the West and more of an alignment towards Israel if this goes forward with the Abraham Accords. The flip side is there's no reason why these shouldn't go forward so long as there is a resolution of the conflict in Gaza. So in many ways, there is a chicken and the egg issue. Can we have Abraham Accords be developed and added to, or do we need to have resolution in Gaza and a more lasting peace with the Palestinian Authority and Hamas first?
A lot of moves for sure. David, how are you reading all of this? What's the likely impact on China, actually, which has been angling to be seen as a mediator in the region?
Excellent question. I was just about to go there with China. I think the big loser, if there's an expansion of the Abraham Accords, is China. Because at the end of the day, you've created, with a peace with Saudi Arabia, you've created a geographic continuity between Jordan, Saudi Arabia, all the way over to the UAE, the Persian Gulf, and over to the Indian Ocean. And you've created a whole structure that is under what's called the IMEC system, which is the Indian Middle East Trade Corridor structure. It's a whole structure strategically between India and Israel that links up to Greece on the other side, India to Asia on the other. And it's really a competition for China's Belt and Road Initiative, which runs through Pakistan, Iran, Turkey, and so forth. So it's really a great geopolitical competition, and this would be a real, taking the queen in a chess match for the West if there's a strategic agreement between Israel and Saudi Arabia. And we see already with the BRICS summit that India has been somewhat alienated because the BRICS did not side with India on the issue of Pakistan. So they're already separated. So I think this is really a geopolitical move forward, if achieved, a great feather in President Trump's hat if it happens.
A lot at stake for sure. David Wormser, Gerard Filitti, thank you both so much for joining us.
Pleasure. Thank you.
Coming up, the human brain. What can we do to keep it in tip-top shape? A top brain surgeon shares his take in our preview of Vital Signs with Brendon Fallon. And action star Arnold Schwarzenegger made his debut as an American citizen on Independence Day Friday. A closer look at a special naturalization ceremony at Mount Vernon in just a minute here on NTD News.
As we naturally age, many people are getting zero amount of this incredible and unique substance. That's when we start seeing an impact in our joints, skin, nails, and even our digestion.
People ask me, Dr. X, what is the #1 supplement I should be taking? My answer is multi-collagen protein.
People's reactions to me, people were like, what are you doing? What is going on? You look amazing. You have a glow about you.
What makes Ancient Nutrition Multi-Collagen stand out from other brands? 10 types of collagen. It's grass-fed, pasture-raised with vitamin C and probiotics. It's proven to reduce joint discomfort rapidly, continuously, and persistently. It improves the appearance of crow's feet after 4 weeks and improves skin tone after 8 weeks. And it promotes hair thickness, growth, and a reduction in hair breakage.
It has transformed everything from my hair. Like, my hair was starting to kind of just, come out, and I don't have that anymore. My skin feels amazing.
Call the number on your screen and find out how to get a free bottle when you order, plus free shipping and our 30-day money-back guarantee. And as a bonus, we will include Dr. Josh Axe and Jordan Rubin's revolutionary book, Multi-Collagen Makeover, free with your order, plus free shipping and free returns.
I have implicit trust in Dr. Axe because the plan worked. I'm living proof of it.
This is the collagen protein that is backed by clinical studies. It's what my family uses, it's what I use, and I know you're going to benefit in a big way as well.
Love the results or get your money back. This special TV offer is not available in stores. Call the number on your screen or go online now.
First time that I went to see him, a lot of stuff came into my mind because I wasn't prepared at all. Another first 3 months of his life were really important, and I wanted to be there all the time for him. First time he was like, "Daddy, Daddy." That was one of his first words. He grew up so quick. He just surprised me every day. He's really smart. I really think he can be an astronaut, president. But I'm gonna support him for wherever he wants to be. Whether he wanna be a photographer, musician, whatever. As a father, I guess you don't focus on you. I put himself first. That's what a dad does.
Welcome back. I'm Tiffany Meyer. The brain is a mysterious and complex organ that we're still working to understand better. Keeping the body healthy may be a little more straightforward, but what can we do to keep our brains in tip-top shape? In this preview of Vital Signs, host Brendon Fallon interviews a prominent surgeon to talk about brain health and guarding against Alzheimer's. Take a look.
Brain diseases, from the expressly psychological, like bipolar disorder, to those impacting movement, like Parkinson's, and memory, like Alzheimer's, are increasingly tied to inflammation. And inflammation is increasingly tied to toxicity in our environment. At best, leading drugs for Alzheimer's merely hope to slow disease progression. But my guest today, Dr. Russell Blaylock, who practiced neurosurgery for 25 years, says powerful natural steps can be taken to diffuse inflammation, remove toxins, and cut Alzheimer's risk. Now he'll present a nutrient regimen for healthy brain aging and for countering the chemical changes linked to Alzheimer's disease. In what forms and in what amounts do curcumin and vitamin E best counter brain inflammation? How do we maximize the detoxifying effect of the catechin found in green tea? And which fish best deliver the DHA essential for our brain cells, synapses, and brain function? Welcome to Vital Signs, where we learn how to get healthy from all angles, from the biochemical and nutritional to the things we do that nourish our minds and our souls. I'm Brendon Fallon. Dr. Blaylock, immense expertise to talk on this subject to help us identify these kinds of nutrients, specifically plant extracts that can help protect against Alzheimer's disease. And to start with, I'd like to draw on your experience as a neurosurgeon. I'm just interested to know how these things, these plant extracts, different nutrients, factored into your practice as a neurosurgeon.
I was a little different than my colleagues. I was interested in brain metabolism, and I studied brain metabolism. I was a biochemistry major, and I did postgraduate biochemistry courses, and I actually became a certified nutritional clinician. I was interested in immunological functions and how they affect the brain. So all this connects together for mainly brain disorders of neurodegeneration. And what we've discovered is they're all inflammatory. In fact, most diseases that affect humankind are inflammatory. And most of them are chronically inflamed, and it's a subclinical, so they're not aware they're inflamed. And as you get older, you become more inflamed. So I became interested in that. The brain has its own immune system, mainly led by microglia, which are the immune cell of the brain, and is connected to the immune system in the body. So anytime the body is disturbed in any way, it activates the microglia in the brain. And it's very closely connected to the biochemistry. So that was what I incorporated in my practice, and it had to do with recovery patients from neurosurgical procedures. And they tend to recover faster, the wounds heal better. It had a profound effect.
Could you give an example how that might have played out on a day-to-day basis, incorporating that kind of treatment?
Well, what I found is most patients have a typical Western diet. They're eating too many omega-6 fats, which are inflammatory. They're eating a lot of processed foods, which have chemicals in it. Glutamate's one of them, which produces brain destruction and brain inflammation, and as well as inflammation of other organs. So as I was incorporated, I found out these patients were a lot better. And the nurses used to say, Dr. Blaylock's patients do a lot better than everybody else's. And it was because I give them these things, and I protect them. I protect their nervous system. And I was interested in brain trauma. And I found out that it had a tremendous amount to do with brain trauma in terms of healing and recovery, particularly the magnesium. One of the researchers found that in mild trauma to moderate trauma, patients given magnesium infusion healed a lot better, did a lot better than everybody else. So I asked him, I said, well, are you going to do any more research? And he said, well, I'm not going to, because pharmaceutical companies were not interested. They couldn't make a profit off of it. So it sort of went by the wayside for a while, and other researchers have picked it up and found the same thing.
When you mention magnesium, the first thing I think about is the cramps that I often get in the morning these kind of the debilitating cramps that cripples my calf. My wife tells me I need to take magnesium. I imagine if magnesium can help in that situation, it's having some effect on the central nervous system. Is there some connection between that and what it can do in the situation of someone having brain trauma?
Well, what we found is even with minor trauma to the brain, the magnesium level in the brain and the spinal system falls tremendously.
To see that full interview and others on how to optimize health, go to ept.ms/vital signs. Vital Signs offers general health information not intended as medical diagnosis or advice. Please consult your doctor before undertaking a new health regimen.
A high school in Maine is offering students who are facing detention a different, more refreshing option, going on a hike. And feedback reveals the approach has huge benefits. Misbehaving students who break school rules usually need to spend a few hours in detention, but one high school counselor started questioning whether there's a better way to educate them. Leslie Trundy at Morse High in Maine is doing just that, offering hiking detention instead of the classroom version. And students who choose the option say the time in nature is improving mental health. Global nonprofit The Nature Conservancy released a study in 2021 saying that spending time in nature offers a host of benefits for children's minds and bodies. It can even improve focus and critical thinking. On Independence Day, imagine being sworn in as an American citizen at George Washington's home while being greeted by the Terminator himself. You heard that right. Action star Arnold Schwarzenegger on Friday headlined the annual naturalization ceremony at Mount Vernon. He had something to say about the moment when he became an American. NTD's Sam Wong has more on the event.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America.
With George Washington's estate as their backdrop, more than 100 people from nations around the world officially starting a new chapter in their lives. Raising their right hands, years of waiting culminate in this moment as they're sworn in as citizens of their new home, the United States of America.
I prayed for this moment. I always watched them on television and said, I would like to be part of that. And I really got the date for this day.
Accompanied by fireworks, military performances, and patriotic music, the naturalization ceremony is an annual 4th of July tradition at Mount Vernon.
Yes, the day you became an American, and I congratulate you.
This year, immigrants are greeted by a familiar face, former California governor and Terminator star Arnold Schwarzenegger, who became a U.S. citizen in 1983.
I was all dressed up, just like today, with a blue blazer, white shirt, and red tie, and I raised my right hand, stood straight, and I proudly said the oath. I kept saying to myself, Arnold, you have a new home. And I did. And so do you.
And there's nothing more fun than celebrating Independence Day with your childhood hero. Some say Schwarzenegger's presence adds another layer of meaning to this special occasion.
Growing up watching him when I was 5 years old in Moldova, it was something else. Like when I saw his name in the pamphlet, I was like, that's amazing.
To some immigrants, going through the paperwork was a grueling process filled with anxiety and frustration. But once it all pays off, folks are overwhelmed with joy and gratitude.
Lots of things happened, lots of hard work, lots of people helped me along the way. I work hard, put a lot of effort into everything that I did, and it's just worth it because it's paying off in the long run.
It's been a very long, troublesome road over the years, very expensive, but light at the end of the tunnel. There's an absolute fantastic feeling today.
This 4th of July, let it be a reminder that our rights and freedom are what countless people from around the world are yearning and searching for. Sam Wong, NTD News, Mount Vernon, Virginia.
Ostrich burger, anyone? This healthier red meat could soon become a staple in the American diet if American Ostrich Farms has its way. NTD's Dana Monahan spoke with CEO Alex McCoy about how it all started.
Alex McCoy first discovered ostrich meat while training for an Ironman triathlon in South Africa, and the experience stuck with him.
And I went in to a restaurant in Johannesburg and I had ostrich, and it tasted fantastic. It tasted just like beef. I got my red meat craving. And then I went home to go take the nap that one does after having a big piece of beef. And instead, I felt strangely energized. And so I went out and went for a run because that's what I was doing those days. And I ran 16 miles as fast as I'd ever run it. I was like, whoa, what just happened here?
McCoy says ostrich is a red meat alternative that's better for your body.
So yeah, it's very low in fat, harmful saturated fats. It's also very high in iron. It has 3 times more iron than beef.
McCoy says, like beef, ostrich has a lot of great aminos.
It's a red meat protein, and you can substitute it in 1-for-1 in any of your favorite beef recipes.
And it's not just healthy, it's sustainable.
So ostrich uses a fraction of the water as raising conventional mammals does. It also uses a fraction of the greenhouse gas emissions. So it has 1/50th of the greenhouse gas emissions compared to like feedlot cattle. So less water and also less land. And it uses a fraction of the land. These are like big chickens, so they're very efficient to farm at scale.
At American Ostrich Farms, everything happens on site, from breeding to egg to harvest.
So we collect the eggs, we incubate the eggs, we hatch the chicks, we grow out the chicks, and then when they're ready for harvest, between 1 year and 18 months, we walk them literally down the road. We have a on-site USDA harvest facility, so it's the best of all worlds. The animal is born, lives, and dies on the same property. So we reduce there's no stress of trucking or transportation.
McCoy says having everything under one roof enables controlling the quality of all the processes. The farm sits in the heart of Idaho's Snake River Plain on 120 acres of native grasses and sagebrush. Perfect, says McCoy, for ostriches.
So the birds like dry. What they do not like is precipitation. It's a desert animal. And that's one of the reasons why it uses less resources. Like, this is a desert animal that's used to surviving without a lot of rainfall. And so in southern Idaho, the Snake River Plain, it's like a high altitude desert. When it rains, ostriches are kind of like cats. The water goes through their feathers. They don't wick moisture like a flying bird. Ostriches don't fly.
From endurance athlete to ostrich rancher, McCoy is betting big on a bird that could change the way America eats, one burger at a time. Daniel Monahan, NTD News.
Coming up, the final piece of Mars on Earth could soon sell for millions. It's one of just 400 Martian meteorites ever found on our planet. And as Jurassic World Rebirth dominates the global box office, new dinosaur species have been discovered in Mongolia and Utah. What these finds tell us about the age when dinosaurs roamed the Earth. That and more after the break.
Say goodbye to harsh, bitter coffee and hello to a delicious, smooth brew. With specialty quality beans, expertly roasted in-house, you'll taste the difference with every sip. Fermented with a blend of 50 enzymes, Days Coffee delivers a rich brew like no other. Made with the highest grade specialty beans available, you're sure to taste the difference. Elevate your morning with Days Enzyme Fermented Coffee.
With almost 4 decades in the spotlight, Cindy Crawford has never lost her stunning glow. With her gorgeous age-defying skin, US Weekly says whatever she's doing, it's clearly working. How does her skin still look firm, smooth, and youthful at 59? It's meaningful beauty. And now with new advanced formulas, it's better than ever, delivering our age-defying ingredients even deeper into the skin to fight wrinkles where they begin. Just wait until you see the difference meaningful beauty can make for you.
Instant hydration, instant plumping. My skin looks amazing. What I'm most proud of is over 5 million women have trusted Meaningful Beauty, and they're getting great results. And I get that feedback from them in airports, supermarkets, walking down the street, and I love it.
And today, we are celebrating 20 years of Meaningful Beauty with a brand new offer you don't want to miss. You can get the entire advanced Meaningful Beauty system with all 5 age-defying super treatments. And when you order today, you'll receive our Targeted Treatment Duo, a $128 value free. Introducing the Wrinkle Smoothing Capsules to target crow's feet, forehead lines, and lines around your mouth. Plus, you'll also get the new Skin Renewing Facial Tool with heat, massage, and red light to boost the absorption of the wrinkle smoothing capsules and reduce the appearance of puffiness. The Skin Renewing Facial Tool and the Wrinkle Smoothing Capsules together create Meaningful Beauty's amazing Targeted Treatment Duo.
This plus this equals incredible results.
Get all this, a $300 value for just $49.95. But you must act quickly. Results guaranteed or your money back.
If you haven't tried Meaningful Beauty yet, this new offer is something you don't want to miss.
This special offer is not available in any store, so don't wait. Scan the code, call the number below, or go to meaningfulbeauty.com right now.
Adopting you was the best decision in our life. And I am so proud to call you my son.
Welcome back. I'm Tiffany Meyer. A meteorite known as the last piece of Mars on Earth will go up for auction later this month. It's one of just 400 Martian meteorites ever found on our planet. The 54-pound meteorite is called NWA 16788. Sotheby's auction house says the rock's size is what makes it so unique, as most Martian meteorites found are just small fragments. Composition analysis reveals the rock was most likely blasted into space off of Mars' surface due to asteroid impact. That impact was so powerful, parts of the rock turned into glass. Some believe that this meteorite belongs in a museum, but planetary scientist Julia Cartwright says auctions can drive discovery and scientific interest. The meteorite is expected to sell for up to $4 million on July 16th. California Governor Gavin Newsom is making a major push to boost California's entertainment industry, signing a bill to expand the state's film and TV tax credits to more than $700 million. NTD's Christina Corona tells us more.
California Governor Gavin Newsom held a press conference Wednesday at the Ranch Lot Studios in Burbank to sign a bill expanding California's film and TV tax credit program from $330 million to $750 million. The investment aims to strengthen the entertainment industry and create thousands of jobs.
And that's not a number, that's a lifeline. It means jobs returning to our sound stages, crews back on set, local small businesses, caterers, dry cleaners, equipment rental shops getting to work again. It means working families being able to pay their bills and put roofs over their heads.
It's also a boost for the many workers behind the scenes.
We are the thousands of artisans whose names whip by in the credit roll at the end of the movie, not those that appear in large letters and fade slowly at the beginning of the movie. We don't go to the award shows. We work the award shows. We don't walk the red carpet. We lay the red carpet. We don't go to hear the orchestra play. We play in the orchestra.
The move is expected to generate over 6,000 cast and crew jobs and bring an estimated $664 million in economic impact, largely driven by tourism. Previously, productions could access $330 million in tax credits each year. However, Governor Gavin Newsom says tourism has declined sharply since January, and he hopes these measures will help revive the California dream and draw visitors back to the state.
4 out of 10 people that visit the state of California announced they visited the state of California because of the images that you produce, because of the icons that we promote. Golden Gate Bridge to the beautiful Hollywood sign. People want to touch that. They want to connect with that. They want to be part of that. This is part of who we are, Brand California. It's part of the dream. And so we're here promoting the dream.
So far, 48 projects have been approved, with over half filming in Los Angeles to help the area recover from this year's devastating wildfires. Newsom announced the application window for the tax credit will open July 7th. Christina Corona, NTD News.
It's been 88 years since Amelia Earhart's aircraft vanished. On July 2nd, 1937, the famous aviator went missing with her navigator over the central Pacific Ocean. And right now, an expedition is underway to identify the possible remain of the plane, dubbed the Electra.
So we're announcing that Purdue Research Foundation is joining an expedition to go to Nicumaroro Island, which is in the Republic of Kiribati in the central South Pacific, to identify whether something in the lagoon of that island, called the Taraya object, is the lost 10E Electra flown by Amelia Earhart and her navigator Fred Noonan when they were lost on July 2nd. The expedition is going to Nicumaroro Island to identify whether an object in the lagoon of that island in the South Pacific called the Turaya object for archaeological purposes, is the lost 10E Electra made by Lockheed and flown by Amelia Earhart in her attempt to circumnavigate the globe in 1937.
The Purdue Research Foundation is joining the Archaeological Legacy Institute in an expedition to an island in the central South Pacific. It's set for November 2025. If successful, it could solve the mystery of her disappearance almost 9 decades ago. Researchers propose her plane didn't crash into the ocean. Instead, it made a landing on the island where she and her navigator were stranded and ultimately died. Dinosaurs dominated over the holiday weekend, with Jurassic World Rebirth stomping its way to $318 million at the global box office. But dinosaurs aren't just on the big screen. New species are still being discovered today, from an ancestor of the T-Rex in Mongolia to a prehistoric lizard that roamed the earth millions of years ago in the age of dinosaurs.
That it was something entirely new to science, and we ended up naming it Konkulu. It turned out to actually be the immediate ancestor of tyrannosaurs.
There's big relatives of T-Rex that are running around as well, and small raptor-like dinosaurs, and all shapes and sizes. And so, I think what's interesting about Bolg is that, there was clearly a lot of opportunities for lizards of this size to thrive in these dinosaur-dominated ecosystems.
Bolg, the latest find, is a lizard which lived about 76 million years ago in the late Cretaceous period, which came after the Jurassic. It's a raccoon-sized armored monstrosauron and was excavated in 2005 in southern Utah in the U.S. But the bones languished in a jar at the bottom of a drawer in Utah's Natural History Museum before being found and examined by one of its paleontologists. According to the researchers, the lizard was a contemporary descendant called the Gila monster. It lived alongside other late Cretaceous creatures like the Triceratops, Velociraptor, and a relative of the T-Rex. Speaking of the T-Rex, new fossils dug up in Mongolia point to a new species, Kanghulu, that scientists say is an ancestor to the T-Rex. The creature lived during the late Cretaceous period and may have helped bridge the gap between smaller tyrannosaurs and the giants that followed. Scientists believe tyrannosaurs first evolved in Asia before migrating to North America, and it offers a rare glimpse into how dinosaurs evolved into both mid-level and apex killers. That's all for today's news. For on-the-clock coverage, visit us at ntd.com/live or download our NTD app. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Tiffany Meyer. Good night.